My name is Sharon Svoboda, and my pronouns are she and her. I love today's topic. It reminds me of the most important lesson that I learned in college from my thesis advisor. Her name was Professor Simya Hakim. She was a Lebanese-American Muslim woman, and the lesson she taught me wasn't inside the classroom, it was outside the classroom. She had reached out to the Women's Center because of a concern she had over the campus chapter of the Pink Camel Belly Dancers. She loved how multicultural the group was, but she had a problem with how the group perpetuated the stereotypes and amplified the Islamophobia that was already pretty big in the world in the post 9/11 era. To make it more complicated, so she was my thesis advisor, my graduation depended upon her. I had to see her every day. I didn't love conflict at this time. And then I worked in the Women's Center, so they were talking about it there too. And then I was a member of the dance troupe. I was really caught in the middle. The dancers who were from countries and cultures all over the world felt attacked, and I, as a dancer and a graduate assistant and a student, felt very stuck. I wanted the dancers to be able to do what they were most passionate about in a way that didn't harm others, and I wanted the Women's Center Collective to think beyond what they were calling for, which was for the group to dismantle, to get rid of this group of women who were finding so much joy in dancing, and who was made up of people from so many different backgrounds. I thought there had to be something, some kind of a solution, but it was not easy, and there was a lot of conflict, and it was very uncomfortable. After months of difficult conversations and reflections, we found an imperfect but happy-ish landing space, and also impermanent, right? Because we can always continue to improve. The group decided to broaden the genres of music that they were dancing to and added in regions from around the world. We decided to get better, more modest costumes that covered our midsections instead of having tasseled bras, right? And so then there was like this, and we got rid of the unnecessary props, things like swords. And we had to take ownership and say this dance, like many dances in our country, although it brings joy, has roots that are oppressive and have harmed people. And sometimes being able to own that and look at it and consider it can be really difficult. And then I think the collective from the Women's Center had to think, okay, there's more nuance to this. And I'm not sure that, actually I am positive that not everybody is perfectly happy. That will rarely happen in our world. But it did teach me the most important thing, which is that conflict, the thing I feared most, is really important, and working through it is too. Now, in case anyone has been really busy or steered clear of the news or your surroundings or the people that you see on your way to school, there is some conflict in the world right now. Anyone notice? There's a decades-long war that's intensified in the last 7 months in the Middle East and has taken the lives of thousands of people, destroyed homes, hospitals, schools. More than half of Americans oppose this war. Students across the country, including people who are Jewish, Muslim, Christian, agnostic, atheist, and Unitarian Universalist, are calling for change and an end, not only to the war, but to systems of white supremacy, to sexual assault and interpersonal violence, and to transphobia. It won't be news if I tell you that not everyone is on the same page with all these issues. I'm sure that not even all of us here are on the same page with these issues, and that's okay. And to kind of break it down for us, I thought I would bring it down really to the microcosm of my little world that I live in. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of conflict from my lens and how it starts out every day. So I have a 12 and a 9-year-old, and we begin the day with fighting almost every day. My older child runs anxious, and she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders. My younger child is free from worry. She does not want to be rushed for anything or by anyone. When child number 1 is desperate to leave and worried into tears about being late, child number 2 sits down on the floor and leisurely ties her shoes. She pays no mind to her sister's panic attack or maybe makes some jabby comments. They are completely out of sync, which inevitably provokes either some sharp, unkind words, and then I'll offer some unhelpful tips like, please don't cry. An eye for an eye makes the world blind. Be the bigger person, don't hit back. Or sometimes I pull up Professor Hakim's quote, if you've never had a conflict, you've never had a meaningful relationship. Doesn't work. Then, as we pass by Lafayette Elementary School, there's a woman with a series of signs with messages like, "Hormone therapy does not cure depression. Stop sexualizing kids." And she's been standing there for 6 weeks. She does this every year. It's because of her opposition to the school displaying the transgender flag of visibility, which, by the way, it's no longer up. She could go home if she wanted to. But the reason that the school displays it isn't because they're trying to indoctrinate children. It's because they're trying to say that all children belong. Then when I get to my campus that I work at, students are silently but powerfully pushing back against systems, all kinds of systems. They're chalking messages like "end white supremacy" and "be an ally" and "believe survivors" on the sidewalk. This gives me hope. And then, just when I have some hope that we're going to start talking about these things and thinking about them, I look out the window and see someone scrubbing the sidewalks, likely in response to a rule or a report that somebody felt uncomfortable when they saw the chalking on the sidewalk. I lost my space. Okay, I used to tackle these sorts of issues in my column, but to make it a little bit more interesting, the publisher of the newspaper I wrote for shrunk the paper. So I don't have a column all the time now. I'm in a fish of sea of writers who get to submit pieces and wait on a waiting list to get a piece published. So I find myself in this position, the same position as so many journalists and educators, feeling a little bit sidelined, censored, and I have to breathe. And let's take a collective breath and recenter. It boils down to this. Just as we can't have meaningful relationships without encountering and working through conflict, we can't change the world without it either. Now, I'm not talking about war. War is the result of a macro level of what I encounter at home every morning. One daughter takes something that belongs to the other, another disregards the needs and wants, hits the other, and it goes back and forth. Without restraint or intervention, both girls will go to school hurting, either on the inside or outside. The conflict I'm talking about requires us to untangle the words uncomfortable and unsafe. If we can see that the words "end white supremacy" on the sidewalk of a college campus or anywhere else and leave them, don't scrub them off, think about them, and we'll start watching and listening, and we'll start to see that white supremacy might be embedded into our laws, our practices, our protocols, and our precedents. To the woman across the street from my kids' elementary school, it's okay not to understand the transgender experience. But if you think about it, you'll find that even if you're using someone's preferred pronouns or seeing people as people, regardless of their gender expression, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, I'm speaking to is the woman who's not here with us, I would argue that none of these things make us feel unsafe or put us in danger. So I challenge us, buckle up, lean in, get uncomfortable. Try on another perspective and have conflict because 1, I've never known anyone to grow from being comfortable, and 2, if we don't have conflict, we can't have meaningful relationships, and without that, what do we have?